What's up everybody, it's Old Man Winter 8 for Sun and Ski Sports, and in this video we're going to show you the wisest way to buy kids snowboards for your young one. All right, so listen, for all you parents out there, or even some of those expecting parents who are super excited to get your kids into snowboarding. And we already know that snowboarding itself can be a little bit pricier, but when it comes to kids stuff, there's a smart way to buy the boards, boots, and bindings for your kids to make sure that one, they're not outgrowing their stuff super fast, two, to make sure that they're learning quickly, and three, most importantly, make sure that they're having fun so they want to stay outside in the winter. So with kids snowboards, there's going to be a wide range from these tiny little boards all the way up to boards that are going to fit those tween and maybe even teen riders. But usually by the time they get to be teenagers, a lot of them are already going to be big enough to start fitting into those adult size boards. So just like fitting a snowboard for anyone, most boards you kind of base it off of the weight. But again, 9 times out of 10, start with the height. And especially for a lot of the kids, are going to be pretty average weight for their height, and you're going to end up getting the board a little bit bigger anyway. So for the kids stuff, really start with that height, that 90% of your height. Basically take whatever their height is in inches, multiply it by 2.54 to figure out how many centimeters, and then times 0.9 to figure out what 90% of that is. Or if you're in the store, you can do the old standby where you have them stand up straight, make sure they're looking straight forward, not up or down, and stand the board up in front of them, make sure it's somewhere within their chin to nose. Now, once we've figured this number out and we've kind of figured out that height, I always say, look at the next size up. Whatever board you have, let's say this one is an 80 and this one comes right to your kid's chin, in between their chin and their lips, maybe jump up to the 90. Go a little bit longer. It's not bad to have a board that is closer to that nose to eyes range, just because one, when the kids are learning, they're going to need a little bit more stability and they're not going to be too worried about pushing the board around. That extra length on the board, that extra 10 centimeters, and when we talk about that, we're actually talking about 5 centimeters on either side of their foot. That's not going to make a big difference, and it's not going to make it any harder for them to learn, but it is going to be more stable, and it is going to be a board that's going to last them maybe 2 seasons instead of them outgrowing it by the next season, because we know that kids tend to grow like weeds, especially when they're this small. But this does depend on the specific board you're looking at. If you're looking at a board and it's kind of in their chin to nose range, and the next size up is like above their eyes, that might be a little too big, and you might want to go down a little bit. But again, depending on the board you're looking at, the sizing it comes in and everything, kind of take that chin to nose range or that 90% of your height and kind of bump it up a little bit to more of that nose to eyes range. And another good thing is if your kid does tend to be a little bit on the heavier side, no problem, that board's going to fit them and it's going to hold their weight a little bit better than a board that's somewhere again in that chin to nose or that standard 90% of your height range. One thing that is good to note too is how skilled is your kid. If your kid's getting really good and they've been riding since this and they are now into some of those longer boards, getting into those upper 30s and into those low 40 ranges, and they are ripping down the hill a little bit faster, they're keeping up with you or even passing you, they're starting to hit jumps or getting into the powder, they're going to need stuff that's going to fit them properly a lot more than somebody that's just learning. But really take note that when your kid does start getting into those upper 130, lower 140s, even into those mid to upper 140s, they might have outgrown kid stuff. Even though they might be 12, 13 years old and you still consider them a kid, they're gonna need adult equipment. So as you can see, when it comes to buying kids stuff, it can take a little bit more than just buying yourself gear, but you just wanna look around, really piece together the puzzle, figure out their skill level, figure out what boots they want, the board, the bindings, and really find that stuff that's gonna last them the longest. Because at the end of the day, it's all about them getting out, having fun, staying safe, and wanting to be on the snow. Because when you're dropping money on a trip, or even just a lift ticket to the local resort, you wanna make sure that they are on snow more than they are sitting in the lodge. And myself as a parent, having a kid that's been riding since these little tiny boards, another good thing to note is that when you are replacing some of this stuff, yes, it can be expensive, but it's not as expensive as the adult stuff. So start putting away a little bit of money here and there. You got 20, 30 bucks a month you can just set aside, or even a week, or even if you sell some stuff, just set that money aside and you'll have enough money to really upgrade your kids' equipment by the time winter rolls around. But if you got any questions about anything we talked about in the video, definitely leave some comments down below. Also make sure to like and subscribe to the Sun and Ski YouTube channel, and head on into any of the Sun and Ski locations to check out the kids gear, or if you don't have one nearby, hit them up at sunandski.com.